Oh, I must have selected something wrong because I just heard an interpretation.
I think that now
I
it's
did too.
because of the muting. I think Mr. Fun muted himself.
Oh, all right. So we'll go through this is what you have to look forward to at today's meeting. Hopefully we'll stick to our 1 hour. We will do a get to know you activity with everyone. I think our group is small enough that we can all go around and without going into a breakout room or anything like that. Because the district parent advisory committee, it's one of those rare opportunities where we all get to talk to each other. So from all across the district. So we always like to start off with that. We'll talk about the new leadership at DPAC and an opening. Our goals for this year, how they've been modified, a little background on DPAC and School Site Council, how they're related, and the status of why you haven't heard much about School Site Council at your school sites this year. We'll get a little update on returning to in-person schooling and some information for family engagement in the community in voting to know what's coming up here on the ballot. And then our hot button, our meat and potatoes, I don't know how that translates, that idiom. The meat and potatoes of the meeting today is to talk about tech troubles and tech tips, what the district is providing and what parents are finding so we can help each other. So first, here's what we're going to do. We'll go around the room, the virtual room, and if each person will call on you, and if you can share your name, what school your children are at, that may be more than one school, and their grade. It says, do you attend school site council meetings? But you may have noticed there haven't been any this school year just yet. So have you gone in the past, and do you intend to go this school year? Is this your first DPAC meeting? And what would you like to see at our DPAC meetings this school year? Because we are definitely guided by what we hear from the feedback from everyone. So let me stop share so we can see everyone. I'm going to call on Sunny first. Well, I guess I'll introduce myself first, and maybe that takes care of our introducing ourselves in our roles. So my name is Rebecca Essenprice. I'm the president of DPAC for this and next school year. My child is in 2nd grade at Mark Twain Elementary. I am one of the elected parents at the school site council at Mark Twain. And I hope to get a lot more parent involvement. I want to see more people from every school site to hear what the issues are at each site going forward. And that's all for me. I will pick Sunny next. Can Sunny, can you unmute yourself and introduce yourself?
I'm happy to do so. Hi, everyone. My name is Sunny Tamrakar. I am the vice president of DPAC, and I have 2 kids, Neva and Satara, that are both at Smith Elementary in 2nd grade and kindergarten, respectively. I wear a lot of hats, apparently, or lately. So I am again DPAC vice president, but also newly elected president for the Smith PTA, and then I'm also on the school site council for Smith. And I'm very, very excited for us to really start off our first, kind of our second DPAC meeting. It is going to be a new year that's different, and I think, and we will get into our goals, but I really want to push, and Rebecca and I really want to push parents being able to communicate. I think that is going to be the key to success for this year. So thank you all for being here. I know that's not easy. And if I can pick, oh gosh, who am I going to pick?
You can raise your hand if you would like to be picked.
and anyone that's in the chat that you can't speak at work, you feel free to put it in the chat, and we would love to see it in there as well. So any takers? Otherwise, I'm just going to pick somebody. Fantastic. Gabriella, thank you very much.
Hi, everyone. My name is Gabriela Gonzalez, and I am the community liaison at Anderson Elementary School. And my children go to the Hawthorne School District. I forgot what the other questions were. I do attend pretty much all the meetings at our site, so I'm excited to see what we have going this year.
Thank you, Gabriella.
Thank you.
Is there any other hands? I see Nical.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Nikel Price. I am currently the PTA president at Mark Twain Elementary. I'm also the outgoing or immediate past president of DPAC. I'm so glad to see so many new faces at DPAC meetings. It's great to see. I've had 3 children in the district, all in a dual immersion program. Currently, I have 2 children at Mark Twain, 2nd and 5th grade. And I would love to see parent voices continue to be elevated. That's something we worked a lot on last year, and I think that there's more to do. It's especially difficult now with distance learning, but I think getting our voices from classroom up to school board level, ongoing consistently is what I would love to see.
Thank you. Another parent or family member? Mr. Church, would you like to go next?
Hi, I'm hoping I'm not too loud. My name is Brandon Church. I have 1 child. She's in 1st grade at Green Elementary. This is my first DPAC meeting. I've not attended any school site council meetings, but I plan to in the future. What I hope to get out of DPAC, I guess, is just really just to learn the process, get to know everyone, and see what I can do to help. I really would like to see parent voices be uplifted. So any way I can facilitate that is really what I'd like to assist with.
Thank you. Welcome. Anyone else? Mr. Gamboa? Sure.
Yes, hi everybody. Good afternoon. Miguel Gamboa. I have 1st grader, 4th grader at Mark Twain, and a 6th grader at Rogers. And I have not attended, or this year in the past, I have not attended any SEC meetings. My wife has attended all of them for I think the last I don't know how many years. I think since we started in the district. But in that same time frame, I have been attending the same amount of SEC meetings as a principal at my own school. And as far as the DPAC this year, I think everyone has already mentioned it, getting more parents on here, and kind of almost like the neighbor, taking the neighborhood watch approach, inviting neighbors and just more. I was late because I was talking to a neighbor that doesn't have any children in the district, but a lot of times it's not about having children in the district. It's about being part of the overall school community and just understanding what's going on. And you don't have to have children to contribute. And, just so I would want to see just a continued increase with a more emphasis on community and parent voice. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other parents want to share out loud? I see some in the chat. Oh, Miss Lucas, can you introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Melanie Lucas. I have 2 kids in the district. I have a 5th grader at William Green and an 8th grader at Adams. I'm the PTA president at Green and the first VP for the Lawndale Council of PTAs as well. I have not typically attended a lot of SSC meetings in the past, mostly because of my PTA load, but now that, everything's in Zoom, I look forward to that. Try to catch up with my Adams buddies there. I'm excited to see, I've attended DPAC meetings in the past, especially a long time ago when it was like 3 of us and a whole bunch of community liaisons. So to see all this growth is pretty awesome. I think it's amazing. And so hopefully we'll continue to grow. And I always enjoy DPAC meeting because there's so much great information that comes out of the district. I think they're incredibly informative. And so if this is your first meeting, I would just love to encourage everybody to keep showing up. You can just learn so much. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, before the next person goes, what Melanie said, we try to hold very true. At each meeting, we try to give you some information that the district really wants you to hear, but then we also want to make time and space for hearing what you want to tell us. So we try to make sure that there's space for those two very important things at each DPAC meeting every month. Anyone else like to introduce themselves?
Rebecca, there's
Yes.
a couple of parents who are introducing themselves in the chat. Not sure if you want to read those off.
All right, I see Judith, a parent at Will Rogers and Kit Carson. I'm so glad to see middle school parents. Historically at DPAC, we have a lot of elementary representation and not so much at the middle. So that's fantastic because the needs of your families are so different. And so we want those voices. So thank you for coming and keep coming. And Isabel has had Kid at Anderson. Oh, welcome to the district. That's great. And Jeffrey, first grade at Twain, PTA treasurer. Welcome to DPAC. Cool. And Julie's note, Dr. Hamilton is here. Dr. Hamilton, would you like to introduce yourself to those who may not know you?
Sorry, I have three screens. Hi, everybody. I'm Betsy Hamilton. I'm the superintendent of the Lawndale Elementary School District. I'm very, very happy to see all of you here. Parent engagement, involvement, and empowerment has been something that I've been committed to for 30 years in all the 5 school districts I've worked in, and I'm very proud of the development of all of those here. I want to give a shout out to Claudia Godoy in particular and her work with Marina Sandoval to support and develop Parent University, and you'll hear more about that sometime soon. Great to see you all.
Thank you. Thank you. Another parent, Jessica Camarena, has 2 kids in kinder and a first grader at Billy Mitchell. Welcome to DPAC. Lydia has 3 kids at Billy Mitchell. I love seeing all the different school sites represented. All right, so Julie, would you like to bounce around and introduce all the people or call on each person to give a little shout out of who they are, what they do here?
Sure, Rebecca's calling me out because I'm typing her madly in the chat, but I would like to also welcome Travis Collier, who's our Assistant Superintendent of Educational Services, and Dr. Gretchen Jansen, who's our Assistant Superintendent of Business Services, and invite you to say hello if you'd like to as well.
Go ahead, Travis.
Yeah, you always have to find the mute button. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to DPAC. Thank you for your taking the time out of your day to be a part of this group, and we look forward to hearing your voices. Parent voices are so important to us, and I won't be at all the meetings, but I'll try to make as many as I can. I do work directly with Julie Kane, and so I will be able to stay in contact and keep up with what your concerns are and what your contributions will be. Thank you.
And I'm Gretchen Jansen. I'm the Assistant Superintendent of Business Services. As you're all talking about your kids, I'm thinking about how happy I am that my kids are all older. I have one that just graduated from college and is working on law school applications, one that's a freshman in college, and one that's a junior in high school. So I get to be a little bit more hands-off than first grade, second grade, third grade parents that are helping kids log on. My husband and I frequently say how lucky we are. We had our kids when we had them. So bless you all and thank you all for your work that you're doing, working with your kids at home. So yeah, I don't attend many of these meetings, but I try to when I can, and it's just great to hear parent voices. And I want to echo what Melanie shared, thinking about where we were. I entered this district about 6 or 7 years ago, and the DPAC meetings were about 3 people showing up, and it's gradually grown to where we are now. So thanks to the guidance and the work of Dr. Hamilton and the addition of all of our community liaisons, I think we've really come a tremendously long way, and I'm so proud of where we are and where we're going.
Julie, who are you and what do you do?
Oh yeah, hi, I'm Julie Kane. I am the Director of Special Projects. And what that means is I work with all of our programs for English learners, all of our Title I funds. I oversee the writing of your school plans for student achievement. I work with parents. I collaborate very closely with Claudia and Marina and the community liaisons on the family university work, the e-alerts that you have at your sites, the English, who are English learner instructional resource teachers. They are my team that work with our children to bring them services. So I'm involved in a little bit of everything. And this is one of my favorite parts, is bringing you all into our community and raising up your voices. So thank you for coming, and Rebecca, take it away.
We have a couple more introductions in the chat. Camelia has a girl in 1st at Anderson and 2 girls in 6th and 7th at Rogers. Again, yay for middle schools. And Socorro, I don't want to mess it up. You can speak up if you'd like to correct me. Has 2 kids at Anderson in 3rd grade and 1 at Rogers in 6th grade. It's great, great. And I want to say representation. It's good representation because it's like you are the delegates of your schools and you come and bring that voice here, and we're so thankful for that. And I will head back over to screen share. There we go. So we don't have to go too much into this. I will mention that I'm at Mark Twain, and Sunny, our vice president who you heard speak, is at Lucille Smith. And you'll see we have this question mark at secretary. We have an opening. Sunny, can you talk about that for a little bit?
Again, finding that unmute button is tricky with everybody. So it is, again, it's our pleasure to be able to work with you guys, and there is an opening for secretary. Our last secretary, again, with everything going on, wasn't able to be able to continue, and we would love for someone to be working with us in kind of helping connect parent voices to the district and parent voices with each other. The secretary job really involves just like 3 big things. Taking the minutes of DPAC meetings, and they have training for that. Being in charge of the attendance lists, and then also substitutes, fills in for the president or the vice president when we're not present. I think Rebecca and I plan on being here for every meeting, but life comes up. And I know that someone said that they were interested, and I think we'd like to do nominations now so we can just get another person on our team. So we would love for anyone that wants to be secretary and wants to work with us, which we would love to have you. They can go ahead and self-nominate now, and anyone that wants to would, again, and then we can try to vote on it, and then we can debrief and figure it all out afterwards. So thank you so much. Anybody interested?
Yeah, sorry. I just joined it right now. My name is Jessica Contreras. Sorry.
Jessica, we were expecting you.
Yeah, I didn't get any of the, what do I call it, an email or anything until they just texted me. So yeah, I mean, I don't know if I can nominate myself, or I don't know who else is interested, but I'm really interested in being the secretary, if
That's
possible.
fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anyone else present who would like to nominate themselves or others?
Going once, going twice.
So what we had previously discussed this, if we have one person who's been nominated and there's no opposition to it, we would love to take the opportunity to say welcome to our new secretary, Jessica. You just made it in the time there.
Thank you.
Yay, look.
Yay, woo!
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us.
All right, so
Thank you for having us, for having me.
and since you've just joined us, Jessica, can you tell us what school your children are at, what grades they're in, and what kind of participation you've had in like school site council or DPAC so far?
So I have 3 kids. I have 2 in FDR second grade and first grade, and then I also have a middle school kid in 6th grade. He just joined Rogers Middle School. For FDR, I was just helping out, volunteering with Brazil, and she told me about it, and I'm like, oh, okay, I don't mind helping out a little bit more. So yeah, I haven't done any other groups besides that, or I've done PTA for FDR. That's the only 2 groups that I've done so far at this time. Yeah.
Great. Thank you very much. Well, everyone was this is a news scoop. You were all the first to know about our new secretary.
Yeah.
So there's that. So I'll come back to this. And now I'm going to turn it over to Julie to just give everyone a bit of an overview on how the system works. But it'll be a brief overview on where school site council falls into DPAC and how they play with each other nicely.
Thank you. I will be brief. You can find this visual, it's on our website, but it bears a little bit of explanation. If you look on the left side of your screen, you'll see what happens at the school level. At your school site, you have your school site council. You also have your English Learner Advisory Committee, or ELAC, and your school administrative team, which is your principal, your assistant principal, other staff that you have on campus. And those teams work together to help make your school run efficiently, effectively, doing the best you can for your students. In parallel, at the district level, which is on the right side of your screen, we have the district level parent advisory committee, which you are participating in right now. We have the district level English Learner Advisory Committee, or DLAC, which met on Monday. And we have the district administrative team, which includes myself and many of the folks you've just been introduced to in this meeting. Where we want to build much stronger connections is between, if you look at the arrows in the middle that go in both directions, our district parent advisory committee, you all, communicate very intimately with your school site council, or at least that's our hope, because we want information that's district-wide to come to the school level. We also want to hear what's happening at the school site level, at the district level, so that you can inform and educate each other, because different schools attack their challenges in different ways or come up with unique ideas of how to serve their children best. And it's this connection that makes us all stronger. And that's that voice you were talking about, uplifting and bringing forward. That's how we do that. In a parallel sense, the English Learner Advisory Committee, or ELAC, at each site is very tightly connected to the DLAC committee at the district level. So we have that. So we have the 2 circles going on at the school level and the district level, and then interchanging. Sorry, talk a lot with my hands, but I'm trying to get it in front of the camera. Really want to solidify those connections so that we really are building a community across the entire district. And that's my nutshell. Oh, but I did want to, Rebecca did allude to what the school site council is in charge of and why you may not have met yet this school year. The school site council, your primary responsibility is oversight of the school plan for student achievement and the Title I funds that are used to fund those decisions that are made at the school site. Typically, your school site council is 5 parents. And on the other side, the staff side, an equal number, 5, which is typically the principal, 3 teachers, and 1 other staff member. Currently, the schools are just about to receive their budgets. We are delayed in that this year due to school closures and all of the delays that have happened, both from the federal level and from the state level. So our Director of Accounting, Monique Benjamin, and myself will be meeting with each principal in the upcoming 2 weeks to go over their new year budgets so that they can bring that back to their school site councils, and you can review your school plan that's already, it's in play. Your plan from last year is still alive and still functioning, but now you might be considering alterations or revisions to that plan based on the fact that we're now in distance learning and based on the fact that your funding may be different from what it was last year. So for you, I would anticipate meetings beginning to start in the end of October and the beginning of November.
And I can take over here if you'd like, Julie. So the counterpart to School Site Council is this District Parent Advisory Committee that you are sitting in right now, virtually. So it provides the input on the Title I budget and on issues related to low income and underperforming student groups. And if you were in a, if you were on the board of a company, you may have the mission statement framed on the wall in your conference room, so that whenever you're making decisions, you constantly say, are the decisions we're making in line with the mission or the vision of the company? And the kind of the mission or vision of DPAC is to keep in mind low income and underperforming student groups. Like that's our main focus. And of course, we talk about all the students within our district, but we try to stay focused on that. And a lot of times, when someone says, why can't our district do this or our school do this? We say, well, you have to remember, we are a Title I school district, and our top priority for these funds that we're discussing at School Site Council and DPAC are related to those populations. There are now 2 LCAPs because they like to confuse us further than just giving you one acronym that no one can remember. They'll give you 2 things that have the same acronym that have nothing to do with each other. So, so I don't mess it up. Julie, can you say what the 2 LCAPs stand for?
Yes, it's a continuation. Typically, every year we do our local control accountability plan. This year, they used the same letters to help us get through, or rather explain how we are managing as a district this transition to distance learning, the closure of schools due to COVID-19. And it's the learning continuity and attendance plan, which means we kept teaching and students kept learning even though the world shifted on us.
Right, and so we have some input into that. And of course, the district family engagement plan we have input into. And at the bottom, just as Julie explained, the composition of a school site council for DPAC, you want the school site attendees, not necessarily the elected members, but just any attendees to also come to DPAC from all of our school sites, so that you may not be an elected member, but you attend and you can still be the person who brings that information back and forth between the 2 groups. All right, and then I will turn it over to Sunny to talk a little bit about our goals for this year.
So again, it's a lot of information for all of you. Again, you can find all of this stuff on the website, and we are, I'm going to be providing my email address in the chat. So if you've got questions, you know, you can always reach out. There's a lot of resources on all of these things. I'd be happy to share. But for our DPAC goals this year, we continued off of the goals from last year. It's very much in line with the previous DPAC team's goals with some small modifications. And one of the big things, I'll run through them. We are going to raise the awareness of DPAC. We want more families to come. We want more families to know what it is that we do, what it is that we are here, We want to increase parent knowledge about the school district. We want to make sure that everyone knows what's going on, and again, how does it all fit together as all these pieces. And then I'm going to skip the third one for a second, but we are going to strengthen coordination between DPAC and the school site councils. So we would really love to hear, again, what's going on in all the different school sites, and make sure that, you know, again, we all work together to make this year especially much better. And then again, this meeting so far has been a lot of us kind of telling you information, but we definitely want it to be a two-way street, and that kind of ties back to our third goal, which we want to strengthen communication among the parent community. We don't just want it to be from the district to you guys or from us to you, but we want it to be two ways. We want to hear what it is that parents are concerned about. We want to hear what's going on, so that as parents of these students, we can work together to say, hey, this is what's working for me. Hey, this is effective or not. So again, we're so happy to be able to try to meet these goals, and for you, for everyone. Thank you.
And then for the next topic, when we were deciding, you know, what do we want to cover during this next DPAC meeting, I said, you know, I've heard a hot topic on parents is they all say, well, when can we come back to schools? I heard, and there's rumors flying, I heard something at LAUSD, they're doing this, or I heard that the governor said. So I will introduce Julie back to just concisely cover what the status of returning to in-person learning and what it takes to get there and where we are today.
And I am so lucky that I have like heavy hitters in this meeting that I don't have to field this alone, because I have Dr. Hamilton, I have Dr. Jansen, I have Mr. Collier here. So I will make a couple of brief statements and I will turn it over to them if they can certainly elaborate on this. Currently, we live in the purple zone. You see where it says widespread. So we are focused on distance learning, and we are doing our best to get really good at it, because we know that is something that we're going to be doing for quite some time. And we are working on one-on-one assessments for students with IEPs and for English learners. We are preparing for in-person assessments. We have not yet begun in person. There are some details that still need to be worked out. What we have begun is remote assessment for English learners, and that is the mandated initial LPAC, or English Language Assessment Protocol for California, for new enrollees to California public schools who have indicated they speak a language other than English. But again, we've started with the remote testing because the majority of parents selected remote, and we are able to provide remote assessment at this time. Dr. Hamilton or Dr. Jansen, would you like to add on to that?
Well, I'll share a little bit. Just the fundamental, in case I have to leave early because I have another meeting at 2 o'clock, I just want to share that I think I'm in meetings every week with about 80 superintendents, as are my fellow cabinet members, 80 superintendents across Los Angeles County. And I have shared with many of my colleagues our Safe, Clean, Ready plan, which I think is probably the most comprehensive plan I've seen, that's also easy to understand for parents and staff. And that is the foundation, that is the absolute foundation of all actions we will take to bring students back on campus. We do not want anyone to become ill as a result of not having effective protocols in place to maintain everyone's safety. So we will be bringing back, and Mr. Collier can speak to this more if you're interested, we will be bringing back some state preschool students also, in addition to what you see on this list. State preschool is not subject to the same requirements as kindergarten through 12th grade students. And then in addition to the assessments for special education and English learner students, we look eventually to, you can see the other small cohorts. So that will be a little further down the line. So we're starting judiciously and carefully so that we can learn from each experience to make sure that we have ingress and egress signs posted, people knowing that they have to enter from a particular entrance and exit from another entrance. We need to have protocols for bathroom use. We need to have protocols for social distancing within the classroom. And all these things have to be negotiated with our labor partners, with our employee unions. So the next phase, once we have been successful with state preschool and assessments, would be to bring in small groups of students who are English learners or have IEPs that have particular needs. And I think you probably have heard about a waiver process. So I'll just say briefly that as of this morning, we have a weekly call with Dr. Ferrer, the Director of Public Health for the County of Los Angeles, and Dr. Deborah Eduardo, who's the County Superintendent of Schools. And the current status there is that very, very few people have applied for the waiver, but when they do receive waiver requests, which would be for kindergarten through 2nd grade, they will evaluate them one by one. They will approve no more than 30 schools, not 30 districts, 30 schools per week, and that those approvals will be based on how they figure in the Board of Supervisors, the County Board of Supervisors. There are 5 areas, and so they will apportion 6 schools from each supervisorial area. So let's just say that we shouldn't hold our breath for waivers, because it will be difficult for them to process the thousands of schools across LA County with 80 school districts. But nevertheless, we bring students back on campus in an equity model that meets the needs of those for whom distance learning is not really doing what's needed for that student.
Thank you. And before I leave this slide, I will say that this map, the colors per county, is updated on a weekly basis every Tuesday. And our numbers for cases per 100,000 and our numbers for positivity rate got worse from last week to this week. So we're not, speeding towards the red right now. So sorry to move away from this slide on bad news, but that's where we are on that. The next topic I thought was very important when we talk about parent engagement and involvement, and what a better way to stay involved in the school district than to help select who is on the school board, the LASD Board of Trustees. The Board of Trustees serve 4-year terms. On this election, on your ballot, if you live in these zones 3 and 5 on your ballot, you will be able to vote on a school board member. Area 3, there is the incumbent Kathy Burris and then Miguel Gamboa. In Area 5, the incumbent Adim Morales and Brandon Church. I'm not going to advise anything during this. This is a nonpartisan slide here in front of you, but I do want to show you, we have in our district 6 elementary schools and 2 middle schools and only 5 trustee seats. And so you'll see the overlapping outlines. So the light colors in the background show you the elementary school, and then the black outlines are the trustee areas. And then the 2 that are up for election right now are in red outlines. So you can see that. The council PTA in our district hosted a candidate forum this week where all of the candidates were invited to come speak, and it was recorded and it's already up on the League of Women Voters YouTube page. So they were the ones who impartially moderated that event. So you can just check YouTube for League of Women Voters of Torrance to find it, or if you're downloading or viewing this presentation after it's been uploaded to the DPAC area of the website, our district website, you'll be able to just click right there to go right to that. So that's hot linked for you. Other things on the ballot that you guys should have already, hopefully. There are 3 propositions that affect education. And again, I will not go into details about them or advise you, but the unbiased, nonpartisan way to get information about each of these is to go to Voters Edge, down there at the bottom. It's in English and Spanish. Also in the state of California, you can register to vote in this election up until October 19th. So it's still not too late. That's all I have to say about that. And then I will invite Sunny to come talk about our meat and potatoes. This is, we thought that this is something that, and we want to hear from you. After Sunny tells you about the district resources that are available, we really want to hear your voices, whether it's raise a hand to make a comment or straight into the chat. So let's hear what Sunny can share about that.
So this was our big topic because we thought everybody's dealing with it. I dealt with it last week. I dealt with it this week. I dealt with it this morning. It's omnipresent. So there are kind of 3 colors on the screen here. On the left side, this blue one, it kind of shows the kind of like some of the how-to videos that's on the website. And one of the big things that they put up recently that I found was particularly helpful was this troubleshooting guide for parents and students. It's in both English and Spanish, but it's kind of a running list of the common problems that they've had. And so you should be able to click the link if you see the ad, and then the process to finding it's a little bit tricky, but if you go to the district website and you go to online learning and then you go to student resources, it'll be there on either the left side if you use a computer, or it'll be all the way at the bottom if you use a phone or something. And then in the middle, we have our family university, which we haven't talked very much about at all, but there are a set of videos that the district did and the community liaisons did, and the tech people also did on the different platforms that we use and how to access things, how to get things. There are additional resources for each of these different programs that you can also Google and go to. ClassDojo's got some great ones, Zoom's got some great ones, both written and videos. And then finally on the right-hand side, if you're having a problem, things are not working, on the first page of the district website, you can click this little orange computer thing, and you can open a support ticket, and then it goes directly to your school's tech person, and then they can respond. We really wanted to quickly go over kind of a straightforward 4-step process that if you're having trouble connecting to Zoom, if you're having trouble with your computer in ClassLink, if you're having your trouble with your computer in general or iPad, this is kind of the 4 things that basically everyone's going to tell you to do first. So you can try these things first. So restart the device. For iPads, you're going to need to close out or force quit the open apps, and you do that by double clicking the home button, and then you can swipe up and you can kind of close them all individually. And then you want to restart it, turn it off, turn it back on. From there, if you're still having issues, you can restart your hotspot, which the district has provided some for families that don't have internet, your Wi-Fi router. Usually you want to unplug that for a minute and then plug it back in, and hopefully it'll solve your issue. And then if neither of those things work, you can submit a device report request by clicking that kind of orange button there and putting in your information. And then finally, you should let your teacher know, or your kids' teachers know, hey, this isn't working. I'm struggling. I can't get them in. The computer keeps talking at me. That happened to my kid last week. And so this is, I think, the kind of the 4-step solution. And I would say for a large set of problems, it works. I don't know why it works. I'm not really a tech person, but it does help a lot. And I think finally we'd like to get to your tips, your troubles. I've got some. I think Rebecca's got some. But we would like to hear and kind of talk with each other about these things. So thanks so much.
I have a comment. I think it's more about, well, I have a situation that I did mention and then a comment. So one of the things that has happened with my second grader is the teacher gets kicked out of the Zoom sometimes, but the class still goes on. So there have been situations where students were in the class without an adult supervision in a sense. And so I was able to, I was trying to get the attention of the host, which switched to a kid in the classroom. So a 7-year-old then became automatic host of the Zoom. And I was trying to get them to actually change it to my son so that I could control the Zoom, because there were kids were being kids on the videos, let's just say that. And there were situations where kids did not have adults around to sort of direct them on what to do when that happened. So I just want to say that instance did happen. I did mention it to the teacher, and there was a resolution around just a situation that happened on the camera. So I just want to say that. The other thing I want to say just in general for my younger student is that the tech is creating a lot more time to do work. So typing or navigating the computer, especially in an immersion program, sometimes to put the accent over the right letters, it requires an extra step. And so there's some things that are happening that are just relevant to the experience of distance learning and trying to apply that as opposed to the technology failing itself. But I just wanted to mention that it's just taking, and I'm not the only one who said that, it's taking parents a longer time to, it's taking students a longer time just because they're having to navigate the technology itself. And so there should, I hope there's some flexibility around parents being able to turn and work later than that hour block or that time period, the beginning of like by 3 o'clock block, so that we can adjust for when things like that happen. It's just taking longer. So I'll say those two things.
Thank you, Nikel. I know that the district has a policy now on being very lenient about when things are being accepted. Because if you think if a parent is out of the house at a job all day and they don't get home till 6, but the teacher said all the work was due at 3. So we might be getting a different message from teachers about when something is due and when it's actually going to be considered late. And so I don't know if the solution to that, because your child will not be penalized, from what I understand, if it's turned in the next day. But the messaging that we're receiving from teachers may not be aligned with that. So I think children are now experiencing a level of anxiety that they're late in turning in their work because they're not getting it finished by 3 o'clock. So
the parent who's trying to make their kid do it might be experiencing anxiety.
Yes, very much so.
But I think there may be a disconnect in the message home. So
yes.
I would just suggest that if you have questions about that, you email Mr. Collier, and because he meets frequently with all the principals. So maybe that needs to be, I know you've spoken about that, Travis, with people, but about the flexibility, but maybe it's not getting out to everyone.
Yes, I think last time the feedback from the DPAC meeting was that parents were concerned that the due date or the due time was 3 p.m. and some parents wanted to be home so they can work with the kids the students to do work in the evening. So when I spoke with the principals, they said I think it's set up for work to be done at 3, but it is allowable for students to turn in work later or the next day. And in our grading policies, we do allow for late work. So if that just might be a communication that we need to make sure we get out to parents, that work can be turned in after 3 or later another day. I think the 3 p.m. might just be set to give a schedule, but it's not a deadline that, you know, someone will get penalized. And that might be something we need to make sure we communicate.
Thank you.
You're
So
welcome.
I'd love to hear from other families here in the audience what kind of tech troubles you're having. So maybe we can point you to a resource or share. I see Lydia. Can you please?
Yes. Hi, I have a son. He's in first grade. My only issue that I have is sometimes the teacher's internet connection turns into a robot and she's still continuing with the lesson. And I feel like they're not really learning because she's like, it's going to come back. But that 5-10 minutes, I feel that they're not really learning. All they're hearing is, gibberish. That's my only comment.
I wonder, were teachers offered hotspots as well as district families if they have connections that are not strong enough to support doing the Zoom?
Yes, they were. I'll answer that, Rebecca, if it's okay. Yes, they were. And we also offered to pay for internet upgrades in homes. So people were able to upgrade their internet. And so, perhaps I don't know if this is an isolated issue, but it might be good to let your principal know or let the teacher know and see if she needs to reach out to us for assistance with upgrading her Wi-Fi.
Right,
Okay.
thank you.
I'd like to share a tip that I found to be really helpful. Actually, Neva, can you bring me your computer really fast? Bring me your computer, please. Something that I did is I made sure to take pictures of their class link cards so that way I can put it on the phone, because invariably they lose the stuff, and if you can use your phone to scan it in, it'll save you a lot of trouble. And I found that to be really helpful, especially when it's 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock and they're supposed to be on the Zoom. I also have my kids stuff kind of really close by, so that way they can always access. Oh, thanks. Okay, thank you. So that they can access it, as well as kind of all of their logins and everything. I just try to put it all in one place near the computer, so that way I don't lose it.
We lose him?
Sorry, were there any in the chat that we missed? I'm sorry, I haven't been watching it. Sunny, can you look through the chat and I'll share one as well?
Sure thing, will do.
Okay, so I'm hearing, it was so sweet. Our teacher actually took the last 10 minutes of class one day to ask the kids, what troubles are you having when you're doing your asynchronous work? And I'm always listening, and it's so cute to hear their tiny little kid voices, and they're saying, my fingers hurt when I'm trying to do the phonics work. And that's, something you would never happen if we were in the classrooms, but it's when they have a Chromebook that's not touchscreen and there is no mouse and there aren't even buttons associated with the trackpad for them to click and drag items on the screen. It hurts their tiny little 7-year-old fingers. So one tip, because I think it's unrealistic to ask families to go buy an external mouse for your child, is that teaching your kid to use a 2-finger for this technique, in that they take their left finger and press click down in the touchpad in the center. I find the center is easier to click down than on the side. And then using your right finger to slide around to move the item. So if your kid's been having trouble with that, try the 2-finger technique. Any other? So now, Sunny, did you see some questions or tips in the comments?
There was one question about whether ClassLink can be accessed on a private device that Dr. Jensen responded to, and I was actually able to test out too. So you are able to do ClassLink on a private device. You just have to download it from whatever app store or whatever, and then you should be able to use it. I find that it's sometimes a little bit easier for my daughter to do some assignments on her iPad versus on the Chromebook.
I just wanted to make just one more observation. So there's a lot of how-to videos and a lot of support videos that are available that I know the district has been creating, I think even before school started. I would say and sometimes parents, quite honestly, were overwhelmed with the communication that's coming at us from different places, right? So no matter what, we're sort of overwhelmed in that. And so we might be missing out on helpful videos. The language I would just say that I think would be great is if the classroom is sort of the first line of defense for probably every parent, right? So everyone is probably going to listen to what their teacher is saying sort of primarily. And so if I don't know if the teachers have like a talking points to say, if you need help, here are these videos here, or, because beside the language that the teachers are giving now, like if you have a tech problem, just turn in a tech ticket, right? It's sort of very like, turn in a tech ticket. It's like the language, I can't really help you. But if they actually have resources, especially as we go into parent conference time, that says, here specifically is where you can go to answer your questions if you're having these problems, because all of the videos have been done, but I'm not sure if people are going and clicking on them and finding them, even the student support services videos and all the different things that have been done already. If the teachers just have talking points and a list as they're doing their parent conferences, that probably will get in the hands of a lot more parents faster than just social media, just all of the information coming at us. So I just want to say there's a capture time to sort of hit parents that I think will help a whole lot. Just arm the teachers with the information.
That's a great idea. I think the district is trying, someone at the district, I think Enrique he's our communications officer at the district, was recently copied on the fact that the tech information is kind of spread out on the district. As you saw on the slide that Sunny talked about, that there was one section that had some videos and another section had some videos. And so I think they're going to work on making that more organized and helpful for families. And if it's in a logical, easy to share location, then teachers can better communicate that to families. So are there any more, before we move away from this topic, any more troubles or tips? No, I want to share one last thing, and we're just over our hour, which I feel super great about, that we've stayed pretty good on time. Talking about not being able to find something on the district website, I'm one of those people that is super connected into what's going on at the district. I follow all 4 social medias that you need to know what's going on. And I don't think it's reasonable to require that of parents. So I tried to make a calendar. There are calendars on the website, but not a calendar that really encompasses everything that the district is offering. And our district offers so much. We are so lucky to be in LESD. And so the last slide of every month's DPAC presentation is going to be what's going on until the next DPAC meeting. So I'll throw that up there. And again, this presentation will be shared to the website, so you can see all of what's coming and who to contact, because especially now that we're in this virtual landscape, you're welcome to come to this workshop, but you need to email someone for that Zoom link, or you need to fill out that Google form to request the Zoom link. And so this is a look ahead at all the stuff that's coming, and it's things from our district librarian has programs that you may not know about. Of course, Family University and Student Support Services are always putting on really helpful webinars. You can see when our next DLAC and DPAC meetings are. And also there's, as Sunny said, I don't know if that was during this call or just before, Sunny just got his flu vaccines with his family. We got ours earlier in the week. So there's free vaccines, flu vaccines, on the 13th and 15th are the last days for that. So so much great stuff in our district, but it's hard sometimes to keep track of it all. So this calendar is here for you. I hope that was useful. And that's our meeting today.
Thank you guys all so much for coming and attending. And that flu vaccine at Green is still going till 3 o'clock. It's drive up, super easy, nasal mist, and they have the regular shots. I'm 100% all for it.
And it's a drive-through. You don't have to leave your car if you're one of those, like a family like me that's completely isolated and not going near any humans or inside any buildings with humans. Drive-through, it's fantastic.
Hey, remind me, Rebecca, on the calendar, our next meeting is November, did I see 19th?
Let me see, it is, yes.
November 19th.
19th. And so I'm putting the school board meetings on there as well, because we don't have a lot of parents in our district who just casually attend. And now that they're on Zoom, it's hard to find excuses, except for sometimes they're a little dry. But you're always welcome to attend. If you want to make any comments at them, you do need to make that known ahead of time. When they were in person, you would fill out a little card in advance of the meeting when you got there to say that you wanted to make a public comment. So you can do that virtually now as well. Everyone's welcome to go, but if you want to stay and chitty chat.
Oh, we're officially dismissed.
There won't.
I want to stay and say hi to you.
Okay, there won't be information.
Hi, Kel, so nice to see you.
Rebecca.
Yes.
Has there been any conversation about when the students were in school, they would sometimes bring home the take home, my school was a take home Tuesday, take home Wednesday.
Oh yeah, so at Mark Twain we had a Wednesday envelope.
Right.
And the way that they're doing that now, all the school to parent communication is through the Class Dojo app. And so your community liaison should be sending out a weekly update, and you have to click a link. She's not, at least at our school, we're not seeing the topics she wants to talk about in the post itself. You will click a link that will take you to basically like what would have been flyers that came home in your envelope. They'll be listed on that website. Great question.
Yeah, I wonder if kind of like, I mean, that calendar that they just had up there, it's a great calendar. I think, we live in a fast-paced society where everyone still gets mail. So, I mean, I know it comes at a cost, obviously, but just looking at that at least every once in a while with the bigger events, still doing that, because sometimes some people do like to sit down and look at a paper and, kind of like coordinate around that. Okay, I have the calendar in front of me, and then now I'm putting it in my Google Calendar. It's another perspective. I think one that is valid for a lot of people. I know for a lot of people, it's easy for the social media. Speaking for myself, that's all easy. I'm speaking for maybe for the other people that are not as tech savvy or is not as involved because they're not accustomed to getting on the computer and being on the computer. Anybody that works right now remotely is on a computer a lot. So it's obviously, really easy for any parent in that situation to do it. For the parents that don't have computer-based jobs, I think receiving something in the mail with the bigger events will increase participation.
Yeah, I know at Twain, they were trying to get away from Wednesday envelopes altogether, but they did have a small subset of families who would still get the paper flyers. So instead of, you know, printing 600 of everything, they maybe printed 50 and just sent them to those families. But I haven't heard anything about that happening since we've gone to remote learning. I don't know. Do you think anyone at the district, would you think that's an individual school site decision? Like we'd ask the principal, would you consider this, or is this possible to do weekly stuff as paper?
That is challenging just because of bringing staff back to do the actual manual labor to do that. It's not impossible, and I'm not saying it can't happen. I'm just saying it is something that would have to be thought through and maybe very strategically used because of cost and just personnel challenges.
Yeah, what the school sites used to do is provide a monthly calendar, because having weekly flyers or calendars was just, I know as a community liaison, when I was doing that, it was just out of control. And so we narrowed it down to one calendar a month so that, you know, parents can put it up on the refrigerator. It was easy to see and prepare for. And then everything else on social media, on email blasts, was sort of a reminder of what's coming up next week. And I think that's the practice that that we're still doing, besides sending that monthly calendar home printed. But if I may ask a question about the calendar, just so that we improve at least the Family University calendar, is there any specific event that is missing from the calendar?
So the one I compiled, I pulled the Family University events. I don't know if Family University and Student Support Services, are they, sometimes I can't tell what program is kind of housed under which organization, but those go to a unified calendar. But it had occurred to me it would be very useful to also have when the individual school site council and ELAC meetings are on that calendar. So if someone came to DPAC and they looked on the calendar and said, oh, I didn't know my school site had their ELAC meeting on that day, I can make that. So throwing that up there, but also the library events. I'm always sad when I find out after the fact. There are some great events that our district does, and how sad it must be to work on these great events and then 4 families show up just because nobody knows about them. So
yeah, and as far as the Family U calendar, housing most of these meetings and events, so whatever is in there is offered district-wide regardless of your home school. And then the site calendars are really for those parents. So like ELAC, you wouldn't find on the Family U calendar because it's site specific. And so that's why that's not in there. But I could see the library events perhaps. And so I can bring that up with Enrique. Yeah,
I have a question about about the Family University and even Student Support Services, if someone can answer to that. How have you seen more attendance during the virtual, because we're virtual, have people been able to join more? Because that was sort of my biggest observation maybe last year, is that there were really great programs offered, but people couldn't get there. Same thing with DPAC. It's like, you know, people couldn't get there. And so I think that this virtual format has allowed, as we saw today, there was a lot of people on, has allowed for more participation, because you can call in and cook dinner at the same time, you know, whatever you're doing. And so I was just curious if you've seen the increase in attendance at the Family University events. And if not, I think it's, I would love to figure out, because even for PTA events, we're trying to figure out how to actually reach the person that we want to reach. We're actually not doing this for the fun of it. We actually want to get you this information. And so there may be an adjustment that needs to happen on our side that allows you to get that information that we're trying to give you. So that's one thing. So just about observations about attendance. And then the second question is what I'd like to see. What I think is maybe missing, I think is, we talked a lot about parent voice, a lot of discussion about wanting to elevate parent voice. I do think there's a big opportunity to help parents know how to advocate, period. So advocacy skills, because voice is advocacy. And I'm finding that whether that's speaking to your teacher, so there's some hesitation about even communicating to your teacher about your child at the very basic level, which shouldn't be, but how you just can speak up and what that process is. I know that we had the Building Better Communities program, but again, how many people could actually attend? That's the same thing. It's like, you know, a great opportunity if you can attend at this point in the day, you know, and that was a physical thing. But I would love to see, it's something that I would want to offer as a PTA leader from my campus or even through PTA Londo Council, is that we need to help parents figure out how to speak up. It may seem like a simple thing. We want to amplify parent voice, but like some people don't know how to do that. Some people don't know how to go to the school board and make a public comment. It's like, I don't know what to say. You know? So if there's an opportunity, I think if there's a district-wide opportunity through DPAC or something that could be done. If not, then I'm gonna bump it down to Londo Council PTA and see if we can offer it that way. But I believe that's missing. And if we're saying we want to amplify parent voice, I think that training and how to do that at the very basic level of talking to your teacher at parent conference time.
Yeah, no, thank you, Nikhil. And Claudia can speak to the attendance on our virtual webinars. And I'm glad you brought up the parent voice, because, you know, we have this master plan in our head, our big picture. And that came to a halt for obvious reasons. And so our attention had to shift. But it's not something that we've forgotten. And actually, Claudia and I are meeting weekly to take Family University online and elevate it. But now I'll turn it over to Claudia to talk about attendance.
Thank you, Marina. So just, yes, I think when we all kind of experienced this great shift in our life past in March, you know, we all try to figure out how best to support our parents virtually. So we didn't, you know, we gathered together, put our minds together to see how can we best support you without overwhelming you. So we did, as you know, I experienced as well, Nikhil, not so much attendance of parents at the beginning of the workshops. And we were trying to figure out different ways. How do we reach out to our parents without overwhelming you? So I have to say, in our recent workshops, we've definitely had an increase in attendance, which is really, really great to see. And that is because either we're advertising through social media, through Class Dojo, through you know, our community liaisons sharing and calling and inviting our parents because they've made that connection with them. So I do have to say and can report that there has been an increase, and also in consideration the time that we are providing the workshops. We are now providing them later on in the evening. So we have from 5 to 6, and both one day is in English and the other day is in Spanish. So that actually also is able to work. And then recording them too as well has worked, because then we upload them and then parents can refer back to them at a time as well, that if 5 or 6 p.m. does not work for them, they could actually also refer to them later on that evening or in another day. So that has we've definitely seen the increasement due to those strategies and support. So with that, and in addition to adding, building on your question is, we were, Julie and I during the summer also as well, we meet weekly and see what partners we can actually continue to work with, because of course they've also had to shift their curriculum and their supports because of now going into a virtual platform. So I am very excited to share, we are bringing back Building Stronger Communities. They actually began their, well, I wanna say continued with their cohort that had to stop back in March, and they now are continuing, and that is a Spanish cohort, and we will begin an English one in about a week. So you will be receiving further information about participating in Building Stronger Communities, which part of their program is to definitely, you know, highlight and enforce, and I want to say encourage parents to have a voice. And some of, and I mean, I could, you know, turn it over to Rebecca as well, who's participated in Building Stronger, that provides you that platform and opportunity for parents to present, to become, you know, strengthen their voice in order for them to really advocate for their child, not only within the school, but also within the district. So we are beginning that cohort in about a week or two. We're gonna definitely, we had started to plan for next week, not keeping in mind parent conference. So we're pushing it another week because of that. We want to give the opportunity for parents to really focus on attending. So that is actually coming up, and we are going to get that started for our parents. So I hope that answered your question.
That's good, thank you. And I'm glad, I just, because I know we were trying to get digital and recordings happening even when we were physically on campus. So I don't know if we shift back to campus, I don't want to lose what we learned from this insight of saying recording things do help. You know, I know it's probably, I don't know who makes the decision about that, but recording things and allowing people to look at it on demand as opposed to being in person. And then, you know, time of day, you know, and actually sort of virtually being able to come in. I don't know, but I would just love, we're thinking about that too, even as a PTA, like, you know, there's some things that we don't want to lose that the virtual platform allowed us to grab onto.
And sorry to interject, I think definitely taking back your feedback and, you know, suggestions is extremely helpful. As I work with the community liaisons team, we had a meeting today, and we're working on, you know, how to navigate Zoom as well, breakout sessions, you know, and all that great stuff. So then when we are supporting different platforms, we are at least familiarized on how to support. So it's definitely a new norm, I have to say, as you know, we actually also adapt to it, but we definitely take in consideration your feedbacks and suggestions to make it definitely much easier for everyone and for you as parents as well. So
thank you.
I had a question and kind of related to that a little bit. And this is my first meeting, so this may have already been addressed previously and I just don't know, but is it possible to use the alert system to notify parents of some of the more regularly scheduled meetings? Like DPAC and DLAC are once a month and board meetings are twice a month. So if we could send out information on how parents can register to view it or to post comments and stuff like that, is the alert system a way we can do that?
I believe, oh, sorry.
No, go ahead. I was gonna say,
No,
I don't know
go
what
ahead.
the alert, I don't know what the alert system is.
I mean, like the text messages for, I think, like.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I think that's just what I put it in my phone. But yeah, it's the text message thing where everybody gets it, text message about something, like they were sending messages about fill out your lunch application, or they tell you when just different functions are going on at your site. But I think some of it could be district-wide as well.
Yeah, and that we could actually talk to our communication officer to see if we can definitely go ahead and plan and do that district-wide. We do have a system that is able to send out messages for our parents district-wide. So we can definitely, you know, take that suggestion to him and see how we can best support.
Okay, thank you.
May I just make a comment? We can make that happen. The only thing, Mr. Church, that is problematic is if people stop looking at the messages because they get too many. So that's why I try to do mine on Fridays so that it's a regular thing. So if somebody doesn't want to hear what I have to say, they just swipe. But if, you know, so, but yeah, I can talk to Enrique Pivarales, our communications officer, so I can make sure that people get regular updates. I know it's on the web, but people don't always operate by looking on the website.
Yeah, and it's, if I may add, it's one of those things where be careful what you wish for because your phone can be blowing up. But I know and Claudia can confirm this, but the community liaisons send out a weekly communication piece through email to remind parents and families what is happening the following week. So I encourage you to look for that.
Yeah, I know. I don't want my phone blowing up every 5 minutes, but I was thinking maybe for the more infrequent things like DPAC and DLAC are once a month. So it's not like you're hitting everybody every week, something like that.
Yeah.
And I've been thinking kind of the opposite personally. I feel like, you know, getting all the messages sent to me when the message sender wants me to get it isn't as helpful as if I'm looking for a piece of information. I want to know where to find it. And that, like, when I bring up my class dojo on my phone and I say, oh man, I saw something on here a few weeks ago, and now I've got to scroll through all the PE messages and there's no search feature. So I can't find anything. And I don't want messages coming at me. I want to have one location where I can find what I'm looking for. And I don't have that yet.
Yeah, and I mean, we can talk forever, right? I know Enrique is working towards cleaning up our pages. I think at first, just like everybody else, it was survival mode, get this on the web, but let's share the link with our parents. And now it's more of, okay, let's go back to structuring, cleaning up pages. So thanks for being patient, but that is in the works.
Well, I feel if we don't end this meeting, we're just going to stay forever and talk because we all love each other so much.
Just thought of another thing, but I will email you, Rebecca.
Okay.
And Sunny.
Yeah, and you know, if you're ever, even as a participant, not the one running any Zoom that you're on, if you ever want to save all the things that have happened in the chat personally, in your chat bar, there's the 3 little dots, and you could save that chat to your computer. So if you saw, if you were ever in a Zoom and there was great conversations going on, you're like, oh, I wish I had time to read all that, but now the Zoom is over, you can save that. So we will always save that, and we'll look through and make sure all your comments are captured and considered. All right. Thank you so much for coming this month.
Thank you all. It's a great discussion, everybody. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. It was good to see everybody.
Hi, Melanie.
Bye, Jose. Thank you for your help. All right, successful first meeting. Woohoo! Well done.
Look, there was discussion. That was good.
Is it okay that we continued for those who wanted to? Is that something?
Yeah, well, I think that's great, and that's typical of what would happen in our brick and mortar. The only thing, of course, I'm thinking is like, I'm paying these translators. And I only
No. So
I thought of that too.
That's why I was like, how do we officially end it so they can? I was thinking the exact same thing.
I chatted with both of them privately and said, your hour's done. Thank you so much. Feel free to go. Like I wanted them to know that, you know, I'm not holding you to this. This went above and beyond.
Yeah.
But, you know, we may have to look at that. And that's if our meetings require more time to talk, then we may have to look at that and or, you know, putting some funding in that pocket. But I was just looking at, especially the Vietnamese. I'm like, okay, he doesn't have any Vietnamese speakers right now. You should go, Don. Like, record the meeting and go. So, but Jose, see, I mean, I don't know if he saw my chat, but he also, in a couple previous meetings, they've been like, oh, you know, we don't mind. I stayed a few extra minutes. I won't charge you the extra hour. They may this time. I don't know. But you never want to, because I know Isaura was still on there and there are a couple others who needed that translation. So I'm glad he did stay. So,
yeah.
But yeah, it's funny the things that are going through your mind, like tick, I'm hearing ka-ching, ka-ching, ka-ching.
Oh.
I was thinking like, okay, I have a student at 3:30. I got to make sure I got to do my debrief. I'm like, I mean, I made it so that we're fine. I planned it like I've got another hour, right? But like, I'd like to spend maybe a little time with my kids today.
Not me.
You know what I thought was so nice is that because of the Zoom platform, we were presenting, but you were, Sunny, answering people's questions in the middle of the meeting, taking care of it. So chat is a wonderful tool for just, Melanie, here's what you do. Here, and Dr. Jansen confirmed, and yep, it's done. And so nothing's left hanging.
No, right? I think that it's the smart thing. I mean, in fact, once we get another person on board, right? That person takes minutes.
Yeah.
One person probably can man the chat. And again, I think the only concern being like, I'm not 100% certain in my answers, but like, I think that as long as that caveat is understood, and then people can confirm and not confirm, and we can try to follow up with people that we didn't get to.
Yeah.
And that's what it is, which
the
is
community liaisons and Marina are on deck. Like you might have seen Marina put the board policy, you know, we've got people kind of ready to grab links to slap up there so that we don't have to, okay, I'll send you an email next week with everything you asked. It's like, no, we just addressed it right here.
Yeah, no, it was good. I mean, there was more conversation. I would have liked more, except I was like, we were half an hour over, and at the beginning I was like, oh my gosh, we are going to go so over time.
Oh, we were great. We finished like 5 minutes after and then just left it open.
Yeah, and that was with unanticipated guests who filled out some of the, you know, return to school information, which was important and timely and helpful. And so we still fit our timeline.
Yep, no, it was good. It was really good. I was very happy.
Yeah. And thank you, Rebecca, for helping me out because clearly I just zoned on that last slide. I was like, oh wait, that was mine. After, no wonder you're looking at me and I'm looking at you. I'm like, why isn't anybody moving?
The returning to in-person one?
No, I did the school level SSC, but I zoned on the slide about what happens at DPAC, and I'm just looking at you like I'm done. And
well, do you know what? Sunny and I discussed that I would take it. I just never told you.
Oh.
So you were expecting it anyway. Okay, I was just saying, okay, I'm done. I'll just wait.
No, it's fine. It worked out.
And I thought you were thinking, Julie, you idiot, stop, keep going, keep going.
No, it's fine.
No.
I'll tell you, we had far fewer errors in this meeting than we did in DLAC. DLAC was our training ground on Monday, so you guys benefited.
Oh, great.
Yeah. I mean, if DLAC always wants to go first, I'm okay with that.
Are there any lessons to be learned that we should take with us going forward?
I'm running out of paper, guys.
So there's a lesson, bring more paper.
Yeah.
I think, you know, this was a good size. I think if the meeting got any larger, we might want to consider breakout groups just to give people more opportunity to speak, which then just we have to be clever in making sure there's a facilitator in each group who can lead the conversation. There's a translator appropriately placed so people can participate, and they have a method to share out what they talk about. Right. So if we get 60 people next time, it would be hard to do a around the room introduction. But it worked very nicely this time because we were small.
It wasn't so bad.
And I'm wondering if the community liaison, like any of the district people, can change their name to who they are in the participants. So that way it's easy for us to be like, to be able to maybe pull out the parents. Because again, I found that, find that, and it's easier, right? We can make sure that we're hearing from parents. Not that we don't want to hear from you guys. It's just,
It is a parent group after all.
Right? We want to hear from the parents, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you mean like have a little, just like a CL before their name,
Yeah, something like that.
comma?
We had gotten to a point last year where we really only had one community liaison, maybe two at each meeting. Because as someone mentioned in our history, it used to be the 8 community liaisons and a parent and me. And that would be the meeting. Melanie was who was the parent who would show up. So we've talked about kind of, that was a scaffold, right? You know, help parents get them in the door. And then now that they're here, you can start stepping away and do more support at the school site level, and then push your little birds out of the nest and come to DPAC. So I don't think there'll be so many at future meetings, but again, they're just trying to get there because you haven't had your school site meetings, and you know, they want to know, like, okay, who is it time now? Now I better bring them. Okay.
Right. And I'm curious, I mean, I don't even know, right? Like, I don't know how many, there wasn't a paper sign-in sheet this time, was there?
The sign-in sheet we're using is the form you filled out to get the link.
Oh, I don't think I did that today.
You guys had special privileges because we give you the link right up, but nobody else gets the link straight out. We make them fill out the form.
Oh, okay.
So we have their name, we have their email, we have their, you know, school they're representing. And I can share that with you. It's Marina developed it for the school board meetings and then gave it to Brenda for these meetings, because it's half the people come in, you say, please put your name in the chat. They forget to put their name in the chat, and then they forget to put the information we really wanted, and simplifies things. And so,
but in that share folder, there's the folder for each month. There'll just be that information in there.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Attendees. That's what that was my master vision when you made that shared folder for DPAC for the school year. And I said, okay, how do you want this organized? There'll be a folder for each month, and in each month, I'm thinking agenda, sign in, social media, presentation, and minutes.
Yeah, that's great. And then most of those things will also get uploaded to the website, so all parents can see them.
Yep.
Right.
The nice thing now is with that attendee list, you have email addresses, which we haven't always had. And you can say, hey, we're so glad you came to this meeting. Here's a follow-up to a question or whatever. And you can start, you know, collecting and hoarding your list of friends, right? So that you can start your parent, you know, side channels.
Yep, definitely. So again, I'm curious how many parents, I don't even know, looking at the number, I couldn't quite tell how many parents were there.
In the sign up, I had gauged about 15.
That's fantastic.
Parents, yeah.
That's so good. Congratulations. Win team, go team.
That's right. In a Zoom environment where we didn't know, you know, is better than, well, the first meeting, because we had to move it to the morning and it was Dr. Hamilton and it was a mixed group. I couldn't really discern who was there for which piece, but for our first meeting via Zoom, not bad.
No, not bad.
Not bad at all.
And I didn't do a personal push. I usually personally push things that I'm very invested in to almost like the old days of a phone chain that you would call like a tree. Like I kind of do that. I have a certain list of parents that I blast just through personal text.
Yep.
And it's people who like ignore all the school communications, but they'll listen to what I have to say. But I didn't push this to them.
And same thing, I didn't push it to my group either, although I pushed, hey, flu vaccine was really easy, guys. Because there was like
health messenger this week, not a DPAC messenger.
Yeah. I also wanted to see what it was going to look like without us putting our finger on the scale a little bit. And I'm curious to also find out if any parents or how many parents look at it after, because typically I wouldn't be able to attend this meeting either. Like in a normal school year, I'd be at work. It wouldn't happen. And for me, like after 8:30 when the kids go down for bed, that's when like I can actually handle other things.
Right. I think Enrique, once we post this, could monitor for us the number of hits. At least that would help us gauge, if parents are finding it useful. Part of it will be introducing parents to the fact that it exists, right? And this is where you find it, and you can do it. Much to your discussion of the tech things, there, we still have some work to do on making things easy to find, but
Mhm.
Hey, we're online. We were talking about getting online for like the last 3 years, and this finally pushed us off the cliff into the abyss of Zoom. So we're here now. So now we just have to get it organized.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, it's again, I think the meeting went really well. I was very pleased. And
So
it
what
was
do you envision to be the next topic? Based on what you heard today, where should we take them next time? Do you feel like you got something to take to the next time?
I don't know. I don't even have my original notes. I was hoping that we would just like organically come out. I know there's some like standard things that we cover in a year.
Mhm.
So are there any of those that we want to cover earlier than later? So that there's like the one thing we find interesting that we think parents will want to come in for,
Mhm.
and then the thing that the district wants them to hear.
Mhm.
Is there?
Well, it'd be a good time to check in that hopefully by the next meeting, they've had a school site council.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Or they know that they have a school site council.
And-
They've heard of
Right.
their plan.
And do the school site councils, like typically does a member from each school site council like do a public report at DPAC, like a quick thing, or not really? I'm not quite sure how.
We
what that
haven't
looks
in
like.
the past, just because we didn't have representation in the past.
Right.
You could make it that if that's what you want, to hear from other sites what's happening.
I'm just.
I was saying that like when we took last year's, when we were just looking at my presentation, and Sunny's like, hey, I saw this changed a lot from what they had. And I said, yeah, so NICAL had very wisely divided it into 3 sections. It was follow-up, new information, and then school site council corner. And so that didn't make sense for this meeting because we had no follow-up.
Yeah.
And we only had new information, and there's no school site council corner.
Right,
And so I didn't divide it in that very logical way. But going forward, I think it's a good idea that like we focus, if not a third of the time, but just like a third of the focus is on school site council.
Like, and that's what we're supposed to be doing,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I just again, I guess we have to. Part of it is I want to see what the school site council